Scandinavia, home to Vikings, warriors, conquerors, and now a new generation of seafarers. Teams built out of champions, and it's time for them to go to battle. The order has been shaken up, and the Danes are on the rise. This is Copenhagen. This is the ROCKWOOL Denmark Sail Grand Prix.
Stand by. 0, go, go, go. 1, lock. Go wing. Slowly coming away. Turn. Here we go. Stand by wheel. You guys all right? Very well sound, everyone.
1,000 years ago, a Viking fishing village. Today, the port of Copenhagen is one of the biggest ports in the Baltic region, a bustling waterway that is about to get very busy. Taking center stage in the capital of Denmark is the ROCKWOOL Denmark Sail Grand Prix, as the most exciting and competitive sailing league comes to town. 6 races are planned for the next 2 days, with the first beginning in a few minutes that will see 9 state-of-the-art F-50 catamarans go head-to-head in the 4th round of the league's 3rd season. Alongside Emily Nagel and Stevie Morrison, I'm Todd Harris. Already this week, drama on the Baltic as Great Britain SailGP put themselves in a dangerous position just prior to the start of practice racing on Thursday.
Before the racing began, the British team were doing their final checks when they hit an object under the water, damaging their boat. And with this, they put serious doubt on whether they would be able to race for the remainder of the event.
Unfortunately, at the moment it looks like our starboard daggerboard case is damaged sufficiently that we can't repair it in time for a race. Tough blow for the whole team.
Well, yeah, of course, that was yesterday, and we're back there now. We see the British boat in the background there. It's light winds, fortunately maybe, but the F-50s are still really quite fast, even in these light breezes. And as we see them here, we see the boat about to make contact with the underwater object, and there we see it's pretty catastrophic. The boat pivots around that main daggerboard that the boat lifts up and foils on, and well, whatever it was certainly an unforced error, and let's hope it doesn't turn out to be season-defining for the British team.
Well, it is official. Great Britain is out for this weekend. As we take a look at the standings after 3 events, Australia, Great Britain, New Zealand, the top 3, but that could change after this weekend. Canada, Denmark, France, USA mired back in 7th, just ahead of Spain and Switzerland. Well, the biggest news from SailGP since we left you last in Plymouth is the return of former Japan SailGP skipper Nathan Outteridge as the new driver for the Swiss team. Not a permanent posting, but the Olympic gold medalist will do his best to move his new squad up the overall ladder.
Nobody understands SailGP like Nathan Outteridge.
On the foils, Nathan Outteridge, the wind whisperer.
This has got to be frustrating, guys, as sailors, to be seeing what Nathan Outteridge is doing and you just can't find the wind that he's seemingly finding.
He led the Japan SailGP team and took back-to-back second-place championship finishes in seasons 1 and 2.
But if we don't get some financial investment, there are other teams and franchises out there who want to enter this league. I might not see any of you guys again.
But despite success on the water, the team was not commercially viable and could no longer compete. Now in season 3, he's been called up to get the Swiss team up to speed.
As the former driver of Japan SailGP, Nathan Outteridge has joined them as an advisor.
They've got to go for it. They've got to go.
Yeah, they need to, yeah.
Like more rudder lift and everything to just get there.
The Swiss team have obviously struggled at the beginning of the season, haven't had some great results, and when the Japanese team folded, they saw an opportunity to see if I could come and help them out. We're working on the fundamentals, and hopefully we can get the crew gelling and maybe change the style of sailing the boat slightly, especially in the starting box on the weekend. Hopefully I can fast track some things with a bit of my experience, and for me personally it's just great to be able to go racing again.
So it's good to have Nathan back in the mix, and time will tell how quickly he can turn things around for Switzerland. Denmark was one of the two teams that opened Season 3 up last month in Plymouth when they went into the podium race for the first time, along with New Zealand, who went on to win and topple the previously unbeaten Australians, the two-time defending champions. The two-time defending champions make it 2 in a row.
Nice work. They can fly the boat. Nice work.
Season 3 of SailGP was at risk of becoming the Tom Slingsby show after crushing victories in the first 2 events for the Australian SailGP team. But in Plymouth, the story changed.
This opens the door for Burling. New Zealand will have an opportunity here. Look at the speed.
The New Zealand team reached a final for the first time and took the title.
The Kiwis take the win in Plymouth.
The other surprise in the podium race was the presence of the Danish SailGP team.
Nice work. Let's win the next one. We need to win that one, then we'll get in the final.
Great finish at the end for Denmark. First ever final for them.
Their first time in the three-way showdown was a strong showing, holding their own against the big guns from the Southern Hemisphere.
What a performance.
In Plymouth, we didn't only see progress from these two teams, but for the first time in 6 events, we saw some vulnerability in the mighty Australians.
First time we've seen the Australians not leading at Mark 1 in a final. Board goes down. Instant turn for the Australians.
Will they re-establish their dominance in Copenhagen, or will the rest of the fleet pounce on a sleeping giant?
In other news, since Ben Ainsley's arrival in Season 2 of SailGP, there's been somewhat of a long-running competitive standoff between Sir Ben and the two-time reigning SailGP champion Tom Slingsby and the Australians, and it was taken to the next level in Plymouth after a close cross between the two turned the tables on who moved on to the podium race at the Great Britain Sail Grand Prix. The decision by the umpire and the incident itself just added more fuel to an already well-stoked fire.
The moment that decided the British SailGP's fate at their home event came down to just centimetres.
Australia has the right of way. Ainsley turns the boat one last time. He needs to cross clear ahead of the Australians to hope to make the final. It's tight. It's really, really tight.
The British team knew that they had to make the cross to be in the final.
And Great Britain just gets past.
This is the umpire's penalty GBR.
No!
Oh, he's got to drop behind. Got to fall behind Australia,
man.
and that's going to be at the finish line. Disaster for Great Britain. Oh, my word.
That did not settle well with Ben Ainsley.
Did the Australians plant the penalty by making an exaggerated move, or was it as simple as the British pushing it too far?
Nowhere near, nowhere near.
This season, and we've talked to all the teams about the close crosses, and we've said that, you know, if we're not certain that a boat can cross without the other boat having to take avoiding action, then we'll penalise that boat, that giveaway boat. This is the umpire's penalty Australia, penalty GBR, penalty Spain, penalty New Zealand. We take collisions and close calls very seriously at SailGP. This is the umpire's. Round two have been black flag, not entitled to ruin the mark. Close racing, we want fair racing, but above all, we don't want to have contact and damage. And especially we don't want to have injury that could be avoided.
As a reminder, there are still 7 events still to come on Season 3. However, for the teams stuck at the bottom of the overall leaderboard, there's no time like the present to make some moves. But as everyone knows, consistency is a must for a winning campaign in SailGP.
When Canada won the first race in Plymouth, it looked like they were going to continue their great start to the season, which had 2 podium finishes. But in race 2, it all went wrong in a big way.
Oh, no! Look at it! Too high, lost control of the boat. What a moment!
And Plymouth became an event for driver Phil Robertson and his team to forget, as they finished 6th overall. 2 third places, a 4th and a 5th in Plymouth, showed France had found a new scoring consistency. But then driver Quentin Delapierre and team crashed back to a 9th in the 5th race, and they're now in 6th place overall. While on the subject of disappointing performances, it's back to Plymouth race 2.
Americans have clearly had a mistake in a manoeuvre. They fell off the foils and they've dropped back. Disaster again for the Americans. These mistakes can't continue to happen.
And so the Season 2 finalists had another shocker and languish in 7th place overall. Surely Jimmy Spittle and his team are overdue a good event. And back in 8th place, it's Spain. Just 1 point ahead of Wooden Spooners Switzerland, and the pressure must really be building on new Season 3 driver Jordi Schammer. Some critics are wondering whether he should swap places with his close teammate, fellow Olympian Diego Botín, and give him the wheel. Whatever, confidence must be painfully low on board.
And a live look at the dock in Copenhagen. There you see the cloudy skies as the clock continues down to the start of race number 1. Everyone with their fingers crossed that Mother Nature, capricious at best at times, will bring some wind. His Royal Highness Crown Prince Frederik and Crown Princess Mary of Denmark visited the SailGP tech base to witness the technology firsthand behind the series here at SailGP. Meeting with the home team and driver Nikolai Sehested and the double series champion Tom Slingsby of Australia before the boats were launched today here in Copenhagen. Well, winds as light as they are today, it will be critical to see how the course is laid out here in this port city as we approach 2 minutes and 30 seconds for the scheduled start. Stevie, take us through the course map.
Well, hitting the line at speed is going to be so crucial and difficult in these light winds. Get caught behind, and the disturbed air from the huge 29-metre wings will mean you could be out of the race at the very beginning. Mark 1, that's the first chance for a split in the fleet. They can sail off in different directions as the teams try to choose the side of their course that they think's going to get them the quickest time to gate 2. Well, it's going to be a highly congested approach to that next gate, and it needs to be planned early. Get it wrong, have to do an extra manoeuvre, and you can lose a lot. When they reach gate 2, they've got a big choice to make as they can turn left or right. The leading boats, well, it's a bit easier. They'll be looking to select the best side of the course with the most favourable wind. But for the boats behind, they may choose to sail in another direction to avoid sailing in the leader's disturbed wind. Remember that sailboats can't sail into the wind, so they sail at angles of about 45 degrees to it. Another gate, another opportunity for the leader to find more wind and sail away. If you're behind, you can split, thinking you can get that extra boat speed to make an overtake. Today's conditions is flat water, quite steady wind, so accuracy of sailing puts a lot of pressure on the wing trimmers and the flight controllers to deliver top boat speed. However, if you can lead at that final turn, the reach to the finish in front of the fans in Copenhagen's going to be a good one.
These F-50 catamarans are at their best and most exciting when the winds are up. But even when Mother Nature provides less than stellar power, SailGP still has a way to make racing possible on the water.
Yeah, when the wind's super light, you know, the boat has less power and we're sailing at much lower boat speeds. So we've got a whole bunch of different configurations we can sail the boat in.
We put on big foils, which have more lifting surface, and we also put on a bigger wing, which also generates more power, which will help us accelerate faster in the lighter air and get up on the foils earlier.
Here we go, we're looking for 30 kilometres an hour to hope to get up on the foils on these boats.
We've got 50 seconds down at the top.
In the lighter airs, we take crew off the boat, and so typically on our team we take the 2 grinders off and we sail the boat with the flight controller, wing trimmer, and the female athlete goes into the grinding role. And that's just to reduce the overall weight, because we're trying to generate as much power as possible, and the heavier the boat and the crew are, the harder it is to get the boat out of the water.
Any little mistake and you lose a little bit too much boat speed in a manoeuvre and you're going to drop in the water. So as a crew, we've really got to be on our game, trying to really minimise that boat speed loss so that we can keep foiling.
Getting closer to scheduled race time, the fans not being detoured by the rain. Right now it's checking down on the water with the 4th member of our announced team. Here is Olympic silver medalist Lisa Darmanin.
Well, Todd, I don't have the best news for you out here in Copenhagen and for our viewers at home. Unfortunately, we are under an indefinite delay as we wait for the wind to settle down and show up. We were lucky enough to have a little bit of breeze grace the sailors when they first got out here, but as the rains passed through, it's taken all the wind with it. There was an all right forecast. We had 7 km/h winds on average forecast with gusts up to 11 km/h. So that's a pretty good forecast to be able to get racing underway. So we're still hopeful out here. The wind direction is expected to be quite variable from the southwest to the southeast. So it is pointing in that direction at the moment. We just need a little bit more speed from the wind. The sailors do have the 29-metre wings up at the moment and they're light air board. So they're fully equipped if we do get that wind pressure to be able to get around the racetrack. But yeah, we're hoping that we can hit that 7 km/h and get the boats moving and up and foiling. So there are thunderstorms to the north. It's playing havoc here in Copenhagen. So we hope they stay away and the wind that comes shortly. So I definitely think the sailor skills will be put to the test. If they end up getting racing, it's going to be about finesse and patience, and especially with 4 people on board, it's going to be hard. We'll see it a lot slower, but it's still going to be challenging out here because if it does get racing, it means that every little bit of speed is really, really important. So they're going to have to push their F50 to the limit, even though it's slow and steady out here.
Thank you, Lisa. Much more from you as the day progresses. So, Stevie, this is a situation where you basically have Formula One Ferraris and you get them in a parking lot and they're just not able to go.
Well, of course, yeah, we rely on nature to get us around this race course, and at the moment it's a little bit light, but of course, as always, the weather can change so quickly. Lisa mentioned then thunderstorm cells around, and those are going to bring and take away the wind. So only a few minutes ago we had pretty good breeze, the boats were foiling, and there's every chance they'll be back in that when we get another one of those weather cells come through. So for the sailors and the athletes on the boat, it's kind of about not being too stressed and highly strung, but being focused, remembering your routines, so that the moment the wind does switch back on, they're ready to turn on, ready to race and ready to deliver.
All right, we will see what happens. So as we continue to wait to see if and when racing will commence, let's take you back to earlier today and see what the skippers had on their mind as we kick off day 1 of the ROCKWOOL Denmark Sail Grand Prix Copenhagen.
Phil, how did practice racing go for your team?
Yeah, it was great. Obviously perfect conditions yesterday, which made it really nice, but a completely different day today. So it's a bit of a reset and changing the mindset and going into the day with a fresh outlook on it. But yeah, light airs today and cloudy, rainy, possible thunderstorms. So yeah, completely different game plan.
How difficult it is to sail in a light breeze? Obviously it's a completely different type of difficulty to maybe tearing around at 50 knots, but how challenging is it?
Oh, it's extremely challenging, a lot more so than sailing around at 50 knots, I guess. You're sort of trying to get every kilometre an hour out of the boat, and it's really hard to do that and achieve it. Whereas once you're sort of all foiling quite easily, it makes it really easy to sail these boats in a big sort of picture, I would say. But yeah, it's going to be a tough day.
We know starting is normally key. On a day like today, is starting, getting on those foils early, also going to be really critical?
I would say we sort of look at it in 2 mindsets. You've got a sort of a static course where everyone's foiling, then there's not so much variability in the breeze. Then starting's hugely important in getting that position at Mark 1 in the top 3. As it gets lighter and more variable and more shifts and puffs, then starting becomes a lot less of a priority, and I think there's a lot more passing lanes. So yeah, today is probably not so much a starting day, but definitely a heads out and look around and make sure you're going the right way.
Does the lighter winds that we have today give the newer teams like yourself a better opportunity to mix it at the top?
Oh, there's no question in the lighter winds, especially the non-foiling wings, if it is that light, it gives you plenty of time to think and have discussions, whereas as soon as it gets windier, it's more reflexes and experience that get you through. And I don't know what conditions we'll end up with today, but we just need to be prepared for no foiling, some foiling, and they're probably the most challenging conditions. And there's a lot of pressure probably on the wing trimmers on a day like today to try and create the power and the flow. And so the last few days we've been having lots of discussions with Stu about how we can generate as much power as he can out of these big wings, and I think he's really excited for today.
So race number 1 of the ROCKWOOL Denmark Sail Grand Prix Copenhagen has been postponed. But that does not mean we can't bring you some exciting racing here in Copenhagen. Yesterday, during practice racing, a great show of what these F50s can do. So we take you back to race number 1 on the water here Thursday in Copenhagen. And now the boats are getting themselves into position, Stevie. This is the critical part, is we're under 1 minute. Where do you place yourself with the winds and the course that you have ahead of you?
It's quite a short leg one, so we see the start line towards the right-hand side of our screen, and the closest end to the top of the screen is where I'd like to be. Now, Jimmy Spithill, he'd really got his starting game back on when we were in Plymouth. He was starting to weather the boat well, and at 30 seconds to go, it's going to be crucial how he finishes here. Canada makes a dramatic turn now. I like where the French are at the moment, a good controlling position, but it's Australia and Canada that are going to be attacking this line fast with 19 seconds to go. Top of screen, Denmark, they're late at the game. They're going to struggle in this first race here. Now, late move, dramatic move by the Swiss. Nathan Outridge, who's got the timing right? Watch for the line to turn white. Tom Slingsby charging in at the top. He looks early to me here. He's going to be over early. All the boats look like they're struggling there. Oh, it's close. I think the Australians and the Americans were early.
OCS penalty, Australia, USA over the line early. No delayed starters.
Australia and USA need to drop behind the other boats here to clear themselves at the start, so this is going to be very costly. But at the moment, it's Delapierre on board the French boat. He's done a fantastic job. Canada going to go round in second, and Nathan Outridge, he's got the Swiss team in third at Mark 1.
France leads at mark number 1. Quentin Delapierre with speeds excess of 65 kilometers an hour on what should have been a light wind day, but it is France, Canada, Switzerland, and the USA back in the mix.
Here we go. The crew's already thinking strategy for gate number 2 at the moment, and they're first to turn away.
USA, boundary penalty USA.
Oh, Jimmy, that's a big mistake there. Unforced error sailed wide. They're going to need to drop back 20 metres relative to a line that the umpire team deemed to be favourable. As we see now, poor jibe by France. France off the foils. It's going to be hugely costly for the French here. They're off the foils. Disaster. And it's Phil Robertson and Nathan Outridge on the Swiss boat. Those two are going to take advantage of this, and it should be a good bottom gate position for Canada. That's Nathan Outridge and Stuart Biffle. Really anticipating comms on board the Swiss boat being crucial. They're looking for a late dive inside here. Are they overlapped as they enter the circle? Canada must give Switzerland room, but it's can they stay on the foils? Expect Phil Robertson to really push Nathan Outridge up after the mark. Both boats are fair so far, but Robertson will be aggressive from here.
Meanwhile, we've had USA team get ahead of Australia here after Australians had a bad jibe dropping off the foils.
And we're getting breaking news that New Zealand is out of this race, but confident that they will be back in time for possibly the next race. But right now it is Canada and Nathan Outridge, the new skipper on board Switzerland SailGP, having their own little private battle on the bottom course. And it is Nathan Outridge that turns away first, so he makes a strategic move, and then Phil Robertson covers. But look at France right in the mark.
Oh, and the Swiss, they flew too high through the tack, got a little aggressive. They've saved it just, but that was a poor tack by the Swiss team. Canada, well, looking at the ladder lines there, we can see a good gap on the French.
So Canada goes from 4 to 1, Emily.
Already a lot of place changes. I think it's going to be an exciting weekend of racing here with a lot of shifts, a lot of gusts to play for.
See our race pitch here, those lines up the course, we call them the ladder lines, showing the direction of flow of the fleet, heading from left to right on the screen. Give us a little indication of the distances the boats are apart, and Canada nearly 100 metres ahead already.
Australia getting a penalty. There you see the wind speed at the top left on leg number 3, 27.25, and that is the average across the course as Canada moves into first place.
Oh, that was a really tight moment between USA and the French. It'll be interesting to have seen what happens there. The Canadian boat, here we are.
Penalty USA, relative France, port tack boat not keeping clear.
That's 3 penalties in 2 legs.
From what I thought, that was a big call the Americans were making there. We didn't see it, unfortunately. I'm sure we'll get back to see what happened there. But here we go, Canadians, they turn on the boundary. The French boat, they're up here in third place, and the Swiss, well, those bad manoeuvres as a crew, new crew, I suppose we can excuse them a little bit of that, but they're going to have to sharpen that up after such a good start. And at the moment, well, Canada looks like they found their form again.
Phil Robertson in Canada coming off a tremendous performance to start the season. Canada coming with a third, a second, but a big fall off in performance in Plymouth where they finished in 6th.
So the Canadians here, that's Phil Robertson, he says he wants to turn left, so he wants to do one more turn and then take the mark to the right-hand side of our screen, which will give him a left turn as they slingshot down. The Swiss, left of our screen, turn parallel with that yellow line. That means they can make it to the next gate without doing any more manoeuvres. And they're right back in it in 2nd place. This is a great showing for Nathan Outteridge. Back as a driver on this young Swiss boat here. And here, well, it's going to be tight with the French. French must keep clear. Let's watch them across here. It's going to be tight, but that's a big air moment. There's surely a penalty on the French for that.
And pressing 2.
This is the umpire's penalty. France, relative Switzerland. Port attack boat not keeping clear.
People are really pushing it out here today.
Yeah, say Jimmy Spithill learned his lesson. He goes behind the Danes, lets them have the right of way as they make the turn now. As they make their way around gate number 3, the near gate, one of the 2 rounding gates renamed and branded near in recognition of SailGP's new partner.
There we are. We're on board there with the Swiss boat as they dip behind. You can see how close it was on that bow camera there, but the French had, look, there you go. The French had to keep clear. They have the wind coming over the left-hand side of their boat, coming in from the left-hand side of our screen. It's the Swiss on the shot there. French must keep clear. He had to turn behind him or turn the boat completely through the wind. And well, anyway, back live on the course now, we can see penalties do matter. The French still yet to scrub it off.
And Stevie, I got to ask you a question. Is there a time early in a race like this where you take that penalty because it's worth it rather than having to dip below or maybe come off the foils?
Yeah, I think what we see in the way they do the scoring system is here we do have effectively professional fouls where you know what's going to be the less costly of errors here. And you can see for the French, it's not really cost them too much, but for me, the Swiss deserve to be ahead, and they are, so perhaps the system works.
Well, this is worth noting, the ROCKWOOL Rockstar vote. Now we want to have you go over to sailgp.com/rockstar. And Stevie, you can vote for your favorite driver or who you think is the rock star here at the ROCKWOOL Denmark Sail Grand Prix.
Well, that's right. At the moment, Phil Robertson's doing a good job of trying to get some votes in. Great start here. And as we see the French coming back together again with the Swiss, they've still got that penalty on them. They've not dropped back far enough relative to the Swiss. I expect it to clear fairly soon as the Swiss are quite clearly ahead. And we've got a split in the fleet here. Left turn being taken by the Canadians. Outteridge, the wind whisperer. Well, it's rare that you argue with him in these conditions. He likes right turn. There could be a big change here. Opportunity knocks for the Swiss.
Yeah, look at the speeds. The Americans and the Swiss still over 50 kilometers an hour. Meanwhile, France and Canada dropping below 20.
France finally scrubbing that penalty there. The Americans, though, up in 4th, moving up here into 2nd, 3rd place. That's really impressive from them compared to what we've seen in the previous events. Their average speeds seem to be higher and they're flying more stably than we've seen.
Right now it is all Canada. Phil Robertson and company looking to start their weekend off in Copenhagen on the right foot, sailing high, sailing the boat well. Stevie, there you see the wind speeds across the course, holding perfectly right around, well, just under 29 kilometers an hour.
Yeah, a little bit scrappy, that manoeuvre there. We saw the boat touch the water, and if you want to do a really perfect manoeuvre there, attack, we call it in sailing, where you turn through the wind, well, it's got to be better than that. But here we come, back here, look at that. It was good for the right turn. The wind whisperer, he's back, he saw it, and we can see a 50-metre lead for this young Swiss team. He's got himself right between the next gate and the wind for Jimmy Spithill, making sure Spittill's got nowhere to go.
And what a surprise here that Australians and Americans have done a swap on their normal sailing styles. The Americans at 100% fly time here, while only 86% for the Australian team. Not sure what they're doing here, but the Americans seem to have found their pace.
And they need to indeed get a hurry up on, pick up some points in the overall as the Americans will try to get a win possibly this weekend in Copenhagen. Jimmy Spithill and company trying to work out all their kinks. Jimmy, Stevie, he's talked a lot about, Jimmy has, about cohesiveness in the crew, and it takes a while to build that up, and he always cites Australia as a team that's been together for so long.
Well, yeah, I think that crew continuity is huge, and Jimmy has made a big point of it. I mean, I still come back to the fact, where's Rome Kirby if you want to have crew continuity, but they've made their calls, and this is, for the American team, good to see, up in 2nd place.
Leg 5 of 7, Switzerland out in front, USA in 2nd, then Denmark as we go down to the water, and Lisa Darmanin.
right mark's favoured, okay? So it'll be attack to the right mark.
I think the cool thing about this race is there's been so many changes, and I think the reason that is because there's still big holes in the pressure. Now, on the right-hand side where the land is, there's big holes in the pressure because the wind isn't being able to get over that land. So anyone that's doing a right turn at the bottom gate is getting stuck in no wind, and anyone that's doing, anyone doing a left turn at the bottom gate is getting stuck in no wind, and everyone doing a right turn is getting to that pressure, having a really good manoeuvre and sailing faster for longer.
That's a really important point. It's important to remember these F50s are so efficient. If you can find 1 kilometre an hour more wind than your opposition, you can potentially convert that to some 3 kilometres an hour more boat speed. It's huge. Here we go. The Swiss, look, they've lost control of the boat as they enter the circle. Poor manoeuvre by the Swiss, but they've positioned themselves well, and they're going to lead around here at this gate 5, but Jimmy Spithill, well, the pit bull's back, and he's going to be biting on their tail down this final leg.
Gate number 5, it is Switzerland, USA, and Denmark, 1, 2, and 3, as they'll make their way down to the course, and then they'll reach to the finish, and a tight crossing here with Australia and Canada.
Oh, good move by Slingsby there to thread the needle through, and well, from absolutely nowhere, suddenly it looks like the Australians are right back in the fight for a potential top 3.
Switzerland in front. Nathan Outridge has taken the helm. Sebastian Schneider has been moved to tactician. They say it's not a permanent move, but just give him a chance to learn, and no better person to learn from, and there's no rust on Outridge. He looks sharp.
They look pretty good up there at the moment. We see Lauren Matreau there, left-hand side of the screen, grinding. Just good to see the crews mixing up how they use the different roles on board the boat here as we head down towards gate 6.
And a quick summary from that previous leg showing the Swiss dominant when it comes to the average speed. Only slightly faster than the US team, but doing what it takes to get round first. The Danish sailing shorter distance and less manoeuvres, but just not that little bit faster. 2 kilometres an hour difference there on average speed.
Here in Nathan Outridge and Stuart Biffle, they're discussing the situation that's about to happen at gate 6 here. We're going to see a turn from the Swiss boat, and when they come close together with the Americans will have the right of way here. This will be tight. Switzerland must keep clear, but they could be going faster if they can execute the move well.
Look at the speed by Jimmy Spithill and the Americans, over 60 kilometers an hour. Nathan Outridge now up to speed. Americans control the gate, and it's Spithill into the circle first. It's a left-hand turn and a blast to the finish line.
Perfect positioning there by Jimmy Spithill, 2-time America's Cup champion. Well, he knows how to deal a match race, and that was a good manoeuvre by the Americans. Outridge saw it coming, but there was nothing he could do about it. And in the background, look at that. As the Americans come across to win the first race here, great job there. Second for Switzerland with their new driver, Nathan Outridge, and from nowhere, Slingsby's got Australia back to 3rd.
Familiar names and familiar places as Outridge and Spithill go toe-to-toe on the drag race for the win, and it goes the way of USA Sail GP. Switzerland finishing in 2nd place, with the Aussies, the 2-time defending champions in Sail GP, finishing in 3rd. So a great race, a little topsy-turvy when you think about where Canada started and where they're going to finish. They'll finish in 5th place behind the home team. Denmark finishing in 4th, with France having issues. Multiple penalties, Stevie. You can't do that. What kind of quality that's out on the water today?
Well, no, in the press conference, it was Delapierre on board the French boat that says, I want to work on my tactics and make sure I get all that right. Well, you're going to need a bit of a think, because that will be a disappointing one for the French. Too many mistakes.
Still in a postponed situation as we are back live here in Copenhagen at the ROCKWOOL Denmark Sail Grand Prix. Now fortunate enough to go on board USA Sail GP and skipper Jimmy Spithill. Jimmy, it's a tough day out there, especially for you guys to keep calm, keep patient, and wait to see if Mother Nature brings you. What do you do mentally, physically, as you get ready to get the word?
Hey, Todd. Yeah, it's a real shame because, I mean, yesterday the conditions were just fantastic. Yeah, look, it just happens. I mean, we've actually, in a lot of ways, been pretty fortunate throughout the season to be able to kick off on time. Look, who knows? I mean, the breeze just did a bit of a 180-degree turn, and we can see a few boats moving, but I'm just not sure it'll be enough.
Well, Jimmy, we've just come off watching the first practice race yesterday, which, of course, you won with an awesome move on the Swiss at the last gate. What changes have you been able to make since Plymouth, do you think? Because clearly that was a great result yesterday.
I think it's just time. I mean, the real interesting thing is the practice races we find are actually quite different than the real race. You know, I think it's just that added pressure, and also generally on the practice days, people are trying different things that they're probably not willing to do in a real race. But we've really looked hard at all the data, a lot of the footage, the comms on board, and you know, collectively we know we've got a lot of things we can improve on, and we're going to put our heads down and put the work in and just keep chipping away.
And you're looking at that data, are you looking at, I mean, the Australians have kind of been the benchmark. Are you looking at them, or are you looking at yourself?
Well, I think a bit of both. To be quite honest, I think we've been looking really internally at ourselves. You know, there's a few things we know, just looking at a lot of the data and the footage, that we can improve collectively all over the boat as a team. But at the same time, sure, you definitely look at the top benchmark teams, and there's, I mean, look, the results don't lie. The Aussies really have been the consistent team, but they're a team that, you know, if you looked at the last race, they probably struggled to really get off the line, but they're very, very strong at recovery and scrambling, and that really shows that they've got good speed and good boat handling to be able to pull off some pretty major comebacks.
Jimmy, you've won at almost every level you've been a part at, and I'll be frank with you, you know, for you being a 5th, an 8th, and a 7th finish on the season, I know it's not setting well. How do you tune out all the noise, the numbers, the things you hear, and just focus on you and your squad? And do you still have belief in what you have in that dockhouse with you?
I've never really listened too much to what you guys say anyway, Todd, so...
Appreciate the honesty.
But no, look, it's... you know, in a lot of ways, that's what makes sport so rewarding. Is it's the tough times. You know, go out and you want to win as many races as possible. But part of it being such a difficult and challenging thing is it does take you out of your comfort zone. And when you are able to sort of slowly start cracking the code and all the hard work you start putting in collectively as a team, that's a real rewarding thing to be. Enjoyable thing to be a part of. So, you know, we've got a great team here. Everyone's really, really focused pretty hard, and we're just going to keep chipping away. And it's a long season. I mean, look, anything can happen, mate. You look at what happened to the British team yesterday, and we've still got a long way to go.
Jimmy, we appreciate the time, we appreciate the honesty, and we wish you the best. Jimmy Spithill taking his time as he hopes for some win as we bounce from the Americans to the Australians. And Tom Slingsby, you had a chance to listen into what Jimmy had to say. It's a difficult day when you've got that kind of F50 catamaran with what it can do, and Mother Nature just not providing the speed. So what are you guys doing to stay loose and stay ready if the call does come?
Yeah, it's obviously a bit unfortunate that Yeah, it's a bit unfortunate when we don't get the weather to play ball. I guess like a lot of sports, whether it's skiers need snow, surfers need waves, sailors need some wind. So unfortunately it's not here yet. We're still hopeful, but we're hoping at least tomorrow we know we'll get a nice breeze and we will get some racing in.
Hey, Tom, I don't know, I think you could hear what Jimmy was saying there, but obviously you're kind of the team with the target on your back at the moment, and how does it feel to know all the other teams are looking at you and learning all your secrets with all the data sharing we have in SailGP?
Yeah, for sure, we know that we're the target for everyone. Even on the start lines, you can really feel everyone sort of close in on us, where it feels like everyone wants to make sure they get ahead of us off the start. But yeah, that's a good feeling to have. We're the favourites for a reason, and that reason is because we perform under pressure and we've got an amazing team here. So I'd prefer to have that problem than the other problem of being at the back and trying to catch up. So yeah, we've got good problems, but we're just focused on ourselves, always trying to improve, and yeah, see if we can keep pulling away.
And first chink in the armour maybe for a while in Plymouth. It was a tricky day, but the New Zealand team, first time they've got the jump on you. Do you see them as your main rivals now going ahead, or is it really an open fleet?
It is an open fleet, for sure. Ben's just had a big setback this event, not being able to race. So at the moment, I guess the form guide, you would say New Zealand's our biggest threat. And then maybe the Swiss, with Nathan Outridge jumping on, they're going to be strong. But for sure, anyone can win races, anyone can win these events. You look even down the list and you've got Jimmy Spithill back in 7th overall. You've got Olympic champions in 8th and 9th overall, so it's this fleet is really hot, and you can't take anything for granted, and we've got to keep focusing on ourselves and make sure that we keep putting the runs on the board and getting good results.
Tom, one more question before we let you go. As you look at this weekend and how pivotal it can be, and you mentioned Ben being out, Jimmy looking very good in practice yesterday, and the return of Nathan Outteridge, do you think into the future, or are you just thinking Copenhagen and that's it? No thought of Saint-Tropez, no thought of Cadiz, or of course no thought of going back to home waters?
Of course, naturally, I think your mind strays a little to Ben being out. How many points might we be able to gain on the second place in the overall season? How many points will Ben lose to us? Obviously, your mind sort of strays there a bit, but that's all dependent on how we perform here. So we've got to focus on this event. And yeah, it's a long season, 11 events. We're only 3 events in, so you can't really focus too much on your competitors. You just need to get out of the blocks well, and we've done that, and now we've got to be consistent through this next part of the season. No bad results, and yeah, I think everything will look after itself if we sail well.
Tom, our thanks to you. Appreciate it. Hope you get out sailing today. That's 2-time SailGP champion Tom Slingsby and Australia SailGP waiting for the green light to go racing. We'll have much more when we return to the ROCKWOOL Denmark Sail Grand Prix from Copenhagen, waiting for the wind to come up.
Locking on 53, Nicholas. This is just us in the boat at the moment.
Well, you heard from Jimmy Spithill earlier that the wind has shifted around. It's more towards the northeast to northwest. It's still moving around a bit. Only 5 kilometres per hour, gusting to around 7 kilometres per hour. But we're still hopeful out here. There is a very misty rain, but we think once the misty rain passes through, we might be able to squeeze a few races in. So the sailors are trying to do some practice runs. They are moving with wind power, not tow power now. So I'm sure they're trying to get as much training as possible they can so that they can launch straight on the boats and racing, because I think as soon as the wind comes, the race committee will get racing underway.
Thank you, Lisa. Still in a postponed situation, so we progress on. Everyone knows that a nosedive and crash down to a near stop in the F50 is guaranteed to ruin a team's day. And we can use Canada's crash in round 2 to dramatically illustrate the fact that it's not just the coming to a sudden stop that does the damage. It's the time it takes to get nearly a ton of water out of the boat to get it moving again and up to race speed. We took Canada's incident out in race 2 in Plymouth and turned to the data through the Oracle Cloud to measure the whole effect of what was one simple crew handling error. It will be the Canadians that take the win here in Plymouth.
Canada started the season strongly and won the first race in Plymouth.
Start. Nice.
And it's good to go.
But it was at Gate 4 where it all went wrong.
This rate, they're all...
And as the leaders sailed away, Canada's speed crashed from 74 to 16 kilometres an hour in an instant.
2, 1, sorry. Don't overreact. Okay, yep, that's all right. Carry on. Coming up. Trimming up, boys. Trimming up, please. Reset. Have a lot of water in the load hull.
And there was an estimated 750 kilograms of water just in the left side. And the effect on performance until the water drained out through 2 small vents was dramatic. It took 30 seconds to get foiling again. It took 1 minute and 30 seconds to drain enough water to get back to top speed. And in that time, they lost 270 metres to nearby USA, about 17 seconds, and went from 4th place to last. And the reason for the crash? A mix-up between flight controller and driver that rigged the hydrofoil the wrong way.
Carry on. Coming up. Trimming up, boys. Trimming up, please.
Well, we're back on the water here now, and Nikolai, it's normally the British that get a bit of grief for the weather. You don't seem to have really turned it on for us. It's looking quite a nice English summer's day there.
For me, guys, sorry, I didn't hear the first bit.
Oh, sorry, it was a very, very bad joke, Nikolai, so I won't bore you with it again. It was about British weather being like Danish weather, it appears. But certainly when you came to Britain, you raised the bar, first final. Do you feel the shackles are off now?
Yeah, I think so. It was always a matter of time. We just, we needed time in the boat. We needed to grow as a team and keep our head down, and I think that's what we've done. And yeah, it's definitely a bit of pressure off our shoulders, and now we just gotta work on sort of staying here in the upper part of the fleet, and that takes a lot of work. Consistency is hard, especially with the bottom level that's sometimes a little bit low for us. So that's something we're gonna work on. Consistent, good.
So are any of your crew actually from Copenhagen? Are you going to be able to give us a bit of a forecast? Are we going to expect this weather to blow away, or what are you thinking yourselves?
Yeah, we got Hans Christian. He's from Copenhagen. He's a homeboy, and he says it's going to be great tomorrow. So everyone needs to come back and watch it tomorrow. That's the best I can give you guys.
And Nikolai, quick question for you. On the heels of your performance in Plymouth, you guys did such a great job there finishing 3rd and getting to that podium race. Did you feel the added pressure knowing that win and then coming to a home race that you needed to put on quite a show for the folks here?
I think, to be honest, the show puts on itself here. When you put 9 F50s in a race course like this, the spectators and the Copenhageners is loving it no matter what happens in terms of our performance. For sure, they like us to do well, but the show puts on itself. So I don't feel an added pressure. We always want to do well. We always want to perform, and that's no different here. But obviously, it would be great to win in Copenhagen. That's, I think, a dream for all home teams. But no, it's pretty similar to all other events. Just go out and do a good job, and you get a good result.
Well, a non-sailing question. If this weather doesn't clear and we're all clear to go in and have something to eat in town, do you recommend something, a famous Danish dish that you'd like us to see y'all partake of?
I think the stuff most people should probably try here is called smørbrød, which is just rye bread with different toppings, and you can get that most places in Copenhagen, and it comes with some snaps, so you're guaranteed a good time in Copenhagen if you do that all the rest of the day.
Perfect. Nikolai, I appreciate the insight and the menu tips. We appreciate it. We hope you get out there sailing today. Nikolai Sehested and Denmark Sail GP hoping to get out on the water. The forecaster's saying if the rain does clear, Stevie, and if this clouds lift a bit, may have a chance to get out there on the water and see a race today. Hoping to get at least one race in as the fans have turned out in force. For the time being, though, we will take you back to yesterday, Thursday's practice session. New Zealand was back in the fold to go racing, so we take you back to practice race number 2 here in Copenhagen.
Go, tight manoeuvring here, 1 minute 22 to go, and we can see all the boats coming back to the start line again. Timing looks a little bit better. Of course, we've got to remember that all the crews should be learning race by race. We've heard what Lisa's said about the potential best way around the course tactically, and well, the crews know that, and as they head in, it's going to be preparation time.
Well, in race number 1, Denmark late to their own party. This time they are plenty early in the start box, and now there's a bit of congestion out the backside as we are now 1 minute away. Add one extra boat in there with New Zealand. Remember, Spain and Great Britain not participating in this race.
Go Denmark towards the middle of our screen. They've got themselves in a nice position. Left-hand side of the screen, Australia and Canada, they're going to be looking for a late run at it. 40 seconds to go. Well, all the boats are very slow in the water at the moment. We can see the start line to the right-hand side of us at the moment, and it's going to be about timing. For Tom Slingsby in Australia, it's going to be about, is he going to get on the foils at the right time? Can he be fast enough? 25 seconds to go right now, and we can see Denmark turns the boat away. Switzerland in the middle of the pack. He thinks he's seen an opportunity to get towards the blue, pole position on the line, but Sehersted in the Danish boat tries to shut the door. 13 seconds to go. We've got to watch for the timing. I like the position of Spithill on the American boat and Sehersted on the Danish boat, but it's New Zealand at the bottom of the line coming in really, really fast. Look at that pole position. It's going to be good for New Zealand. Line breaks there. It looks like it's going to be clear and fast, and potentially on the inside at Mark 1, it's going to be Peter Burling and New Zealand.
Welcome back to the party, the Kiwis, as they set out the last race, and now it is a 3-boat drag race to mark number 1. New Zealand, Switzerland, and Australia, your top 3.
Wow, it's tight round there, and we're going to look for the boats that'll already be thinking about that next manoeuvre. First place, New Zealand, Australia in second, and Switzerland with Nathan Outridge in the driver position once again at the front of the fleet, as Denmark and Canada are the first to move away, looking to find more wind.
Kiwis and the Aussies make the turn almost simultaneously here on leg number 2 of 7 in race number 2.
I don't know if you saw look in there, Todd. The boat, the New Zealand boat, just looked rock solid through the manoeuvre there, and that's just such a big improvement for them.
And live speeds here with kilometres an hour, miles per hour, and knots now doing around 70s miles per hour, or kilometres an hour downwind. Well, on that top reach there, we saw up to 81 kilometres an hour. The breeze has filled in, 30 kilometres an hour averaging. Should have no problem being on the foils today.
You can see here the wind. They're nearly sailing straight down the ladder lines, which suggests the wind has changed direction a bit. So don't be surprised to see the New Zealand boat or the Australians look for an early turn after rounding up into the wind here.
Penalty for it.
Must have been tight. It must have been a penalty that's cleared off very quickly there. We heard the voice of Chief Umpire Craig Mitchell, and round the mark there, Denmark.
France relative Canada.
Okay, there you go. Right-of-way incident there, so the French need to make sure they're behind the Canadians before that'll clear, as Sehersted takes the right turn and heads away from the fleet. We see back at the front of the fleet, just up on the foils, with indicated by the green at the top of the mast, it's Australia, and off down the road. Well, they won in Plymouth, and they look very, very fast here in race 2, New Zealand.
They lead over 100 meters over the Australians, so the Kiwis and the Aussies won in 2. Denmark sits in 3rd as the fleet split. Half the fleet going to the right side, the other half to the left, and it looks like the Kiwis picked the right side.
Saw them nearly sailing straight down the ladder on the downwind, and they're sailing much better as they go from left to right on our screen. It looks like the New Zealand boat has found a good angle. Sailboat racing, it's all about, do you sail faster or do you sail less distance? And at the moment, the New Zealand crew are doing a brilliant job of minimising the distance they're sailing.
20 seconds, go.
Minimising distance, but still 53 kilometres an hour versus 50 for the Aussies.
We talk about the start, Emily, and how important it is to get a start out there. You can still get yourself into the mix if you can make the maneuvers, but man, you do yourself a big favor if you can come out in that top 3.
Exactly. If you're out in front, you don't have to worry about sailing through all of the dirty air that is produced by the boats in front of you. You can sail your own race, pick your tactics, and take the advantage of the best side of the course.
Well, the Danes have done just that. They've moved up into 2nd place ahead of the Aussies, so it's New Zealand, Denmark, and Australia 1, 2, and 3. The Americans have had some more unforced penalties. They've dropped back to 7th place, just behind France and Canada.
And here we've got 100% fly time for the Kiwis and the Danish, with the Kiwis averaging slightly faster. The Aussies hot on their heels, but just not quite matching those speeds.
Close into the top of the New Zealand boat. We've heard Burling in the moments there talking about wanting to turn right, but he's struggling to make that mark. He's going to have to squeeze the boat up into the wind, and he looks like he's doing a very nice job on the New Zealand there. The US boat, well, they won the first race, but a penalty and back in 7th at the very, very back of the fleet. It's not what Jimmy Spittel will want. He wants consistency, and New Zealand, wow, they're back with a bang here, 100 metres ahead already as we get to the near gate, gate 3.
We saw a boundary penalty there on the Danish, dropping them behind the Australians, and also one on the American team. Simple mistakes, but very costly today.
I want to remind you, you can go to sailgp.com/rockstar to vote for your favorite driver who you think was the rock star here on race day at the ROCKWOOL Denmark Sail Grand Prix. That's sailgp.com/rockstar.
Going to be an easy choice to make that one today, Todd. I'd have said there's a lot of inconsistency in the fleet. And here we go, further up in the fleet, we get to see things here. We're on board the Australian boat there. Nina Curtis, back of the boat, head on a swivel, looking at the boat behind them, and it's the Danish behind. They'll be chasing them hard. Slingsby focused ahead on the New Zealand boat, and he won't like seeing that. Peter Burling stretching away. 72 kilometres now. This New Zealand boat looks really fast around the racetrack.
Remember, New Zealand sitting out race number 1. They had some issues on board. They've certainly sorted those out. So the winners of the last event in Plymouth, the Kiwis, winning both on the water and off, as Stevie mentioned, winning the Sustainability Award. First time that's been done in SailGP history. And Peter Burley, Blair Tuke and company looking mighty good out there on the Baltic.
See there, Peter Burling having to put his leg on the side to get ready for the G-force in the turn.
Keeping it simple.
We're keeping it simple. Well, if you're out that far out in front, just keep doing the right thing, keep making the basics. And we heard a bit of a groan, and we see some white water in the background. The New Zealand crew, even when trying to keep it simple, it's not easy. But that's a big, big lead at the moment there as we see up the course. Australia round the mark, straight into an early manoeuvre there. They call it a JK. That's where they've turned up and then manoeuvred the boat right through the wind, trying to put some pressure on this New Zealand crew, trying to make them think.
First goes to the Kiwis, second to the Australians. The Danes now moving up into 3rd place, trying to keep that boat up and fully on home waters. They sit in 3rd place, 1 spot ahead of Switzerland. Then it's Canada, France, and the USA as we move on to leg 5 of 7.
There, look at the speeds on the top there. Of course, as the boats turn and start going upwind, as the arrows indicate they are doing here, a lot more drag over the platform of the F50, so we see slightly slower speeds when they're sailing into the wind. But given that they're just powered by nature, you see in the background there those windmills, and the speeds we get are incredible.
The New Zealand team still dominating with 100% fly time, and look at that average speed, 2.5 kilometres an hour faster than the Danish. Really impressive. Will they continue this from Plymouth, taking the win again?
And Stevie, on a day where they thought we might have light wind, the Kiwis have certainly found the right formula. Look at their speed and look at their distance on Australia in 2nd and Denmark. There you see the relative speed across the course, averaging just over 26.4 kilometers an hour on leg 5.
We got a little bit of feedback from Pete Burling. We keep saying, have you cracked the code? And he doesn't necessarily like that word. He doesn't seem the biggest fan of it. But right now, they look pretty relaxed on board the New Zealand boat there. We can see Liv Mackay in the background, constantly looking around, trying to find more wind. And what that's allowing is it's allowing Peter Burling to stay really focused in the boat, sailing it really, really fast. And it's ominous signs that this New Zealand crew, maybe they have cracked the code, Todd.
We will see, and I'll let you ask him that question if they do hold on for the victory. But right now it is the Kiwis in 1st, Australia in 2nd, Denmark in 3rd. The Americans again having issues here, so consistency a problem. They were the winners of race number 1, and look how smooth this is. Flying it high and flying it fast.
See the flight heights in the left-hand side of the screen there. New Zealand crew pretty consistent. They're 88 centimetres out of the water at that moment in time. It's very dynamic numbers, these, as the boat's sailing along the whole time. But what we can see on the camera, which perhaps gives us a better indication, is generally speaking, that boat looks very steady. Not a lot changing in the platform, constant height above the water, and they're really getting the most out of it.
Happy there, 2 drives on the run, left to finish. You got it, bro? Yeah. No, it's just how sailing here are they sitting up?
Trying to plan ahead there, Pete Burling. He wants to do 2 turns on this downwind leg and then just take it as the sprint to the finish. There's only a few minutes of this race left, and it's going to be too little too late. Slingsby, he's up to second, but in the background, Nathan Outridge on the Swiss boat. He's got himself into third at the moment, but there will be a split, and Switzerland will be slow as they turn away from the wind here.
Good day for everyone to work out the lumps and bumps out on the course and see if they can't get themselves into racing form.
And as we've said before, New Zealand just plain faster than everyone else. Same number of maneuvers, similar distance, but so much faster.
It was slightly windier than the years ago. Yeah.
Slightly windier on that boat.
Yeah, exactly. They're catching all the wind as Kiwis are out in front. Look at the distance, the lead on everyone else. So after sitting out race number 1, Peter Burling and company come back and look to be in perfect form. It'll be a left-hand turn here at gate number 6, and the win in race number 2 will go the way of the winners of Plymouth. Peter Burling, Blair Tuke and company will pick up the victory here as they make the slow, deliberate turn on the left-hand side, Stevie. They didn't make any mistakes. They kept it simple, kept it clean.
Once they got out in front, they made a nice call early on in the race where they stretched away from that first gate. And since then, in clear wind, they've just sailed the boat faster. They've kept the boat in line with everyone else and, well, puts them in a pretty nice place now.
So in the shadows of the greenest capital on earth, Copenhagen, it is New Zealand SailGP that gets the win in race number 2 in fine fashion, just ahead of the 2-time defending champions, Tom Slingsby in Australia, as they come around with just a few hundred meters to go. And the home fans will love this as Denmark SailGP will take 3rd place. So consistent sailing by them. There you see Phil Robertson in Canada coming in. High speeds, though, close to 50 kilometers an hour, so an opportunity for them possibly to track down the Danes.
Left turn at the top was very costly for the Swiss. They've had to do some extra maneuvers. They've dropped from 3rd to 5th on this vital last leg, and that could be costly for the Swiss team. I think a bit of a poor error there, but the Danish, well, consistency counts, and a good solid 3rd place for Sejersted as he comes into the finish right now in front of the fans.
Phil Robertson, Canada, they'll finish in 4th place in a nice drag race here as Nathan Outridge, who finished 2nd in the first race, now sitting in 5th, trying to hold off Quentin Delapierre and France. And this is not going to set well for the likes of Jimmy Spithill. Winner in race number 1. Their crew looked very smooth, Stevie, and now they're going to finish in dead last on 7th place.
Yeah, the mistakes, I mean, that's what the Americans want to cut out. That consistency is what they need. They're going to take a lot of solace from winning the first race. That showed if they do it right, they can do it there. CJ Perez on the wheel out of the jibe. Nice turn up there by the American boat. There'll be a lot of solace out of that first race, but it's consistency in this game that's what's important if you want to get to that 3-boat final on the end of the regatta. And, well, there's not a lot of consistency just yet with this American boat.
Still in a postponed situation here on day number 1 in Copenhagen, as we hope that Mother Nature provides some wind so we can go racing. Also want to have a reminder, the live racing needs to happen until we can crown a ROCKWOOL Rockstar Award. So stand down as of now on live voting. We'll be back to Copenhagen for much more of the ROCKWOOL Denmark Sail Grand Prix after this short break. Fingers crossed Mother Nature provides some wind.
Go, go, go.
Well, Larry Ellison and I started talking about a better way to deliver professional sailing.
Larry and Russell had this vision of how the sport needed to evolve. So we could create a sailing product or a championship that could be commercially viable and that would continue in time. But then one day they said, why don't we create a new sailing league?
SailGP is setting out to redefine sailing. It will be racing at its very best, fueled by athletes, powered by nature. For our inaugural season, we will stage events in Sydney, San Francisco, New York, in England and Cowes, onto our final event in Marseille.
So when we started to think about this, one of the keys was we need a regularity of events. And to do that, you need to solve the logistics. You need to be able to ship these boats around the world. So the boats had to fit into containers.
I got the call, from Russell Coutts to start looking at some numbers with Andy Thompson and figuring out what the model could look like.
And we did everything in a period of 9 months. So it was absolutely crazy.
I mean, the idea with SailGP was really simple from the beginning. It was just making sailing a lot more exciting. More exciting for the sailors, more exciting for the fans, more exciting for the commercial partners, more exciting for the cities.
You're really competing in this league on equal terms with every other team. Everyone has the same technology. Everyone has access to the data. And all of a sudden, now it's a real test of which athlete is better. And the human factor is making the difference.
Coming away, 2. Here we go.
Back in Copenhagen, still in a postponed situation as we are hoping to get one race in today at the ROCKWOOL Denmark Sail Grand Prix as Mother Nature and the winds have been capricious. We are now set to go on board Canada SailGP. Phil Robertson and team, and Stevie, I know they are excited to get going as Canada would love to get out there and show what they've learned.
Well, Phil, I can see you stood there with Sarah Douglas, first time racing in the F50, Sarah, and it must be a little bit frustrating to be stood in the rain and not quite racing just yet.
Another day on the water. Of course, we'd love to race, but weather doesn't always...
Yeah, that is the game we play. Well, Phil, certainly this...
Weather doesn't always cooperate.
Yeah, well, your team, Phil, seems to have done a fantastic job of integrating all the roles, and it's clear from off the boat that strategist role at the back of the Canadian boat is probably the most efficiently used. And how do you find just stepping in? You got Sarah coming in for the first time at this event. Is that fairly seamless, or is that a challenge each time?
I think it's cool. I think that's what the beauty of being a new team is. You've got a blank bit of paper and you can sort of look how everyone's sailing the boat, and decided that actually that's another role that we can utilise a lot more. And I think at the moment we've changed around a few different girls, and it does get a little bit tricky when you change people, but the girls that we have in our team are such professionals and they slot straight into their role and offer a lot of good input and good value to the team as well.
Phil, as you look at the team you've got out there with Chris Draper doing the wing trimming, you've got Billy Gooderham, and of course Sarah Douglas. How is it left to you to decide how the whole cohesive team works together and how you guys mesh together? And is it just a matter of being on the water and spending more time with each other to find that perfect spot?
I guess that's the hard part is, Chris and I have a lot of experience in these boats, but we've actually never sailed together, so if you look at a pair like Pete and Blair, I guess I've got over 10, 12 years of sailing together, and that's a lot of value in it. So we're working hard to try and work better together, Chris and I, and then it's the same with everyone else on board. We're a brand new team, never worked together before, so a lot of our debriefs are spent on communication and how we can work better together and getting to know each other. But what's the beauty of this team is we've got probably about 10 fantastic athletes involved, and yeah, it's such a good vibe. So we're all very happy and enjoying it out here.
Okay, well, that's good to hear.
Even on a day like today.
Well, even on a day like today. You had a tricky event in Plymouth, Phil. Is that throw the baby out with the bathwater? Is everything all good in Team Canada, ready for another good performance here?
And I don't know about you, but I don't throw babies out anywhere, okay? You can throw babies if you want, but now look, mate, it wasn't a bad performance, to be honest. A lot of learning, and, we're a new team and we came sixth, so I think if we look at the big picture, it's not a bad result, and we had a challenging day on Sunday and made our first mistake in our boat handling as well the day before. So, all in all, some really, really good learning and stuff that we'll take forward into sort of racing here this weekend, which is probably going to be quite similar.
Phil Robertson, Sarah Douglas, we appreciate your time. We hope to see Canada out there sailing shortly. So the postponement continues here on day number 1 of the ROCKWOOL Denmark Sail Grand Prix in Copenhagen, as the wind hopefully will build in time for one race to get underway. We'll wait and see. Why we do that, we want to take you back to yesterday. Conditions much different. It was practice race number 3, and still a lot to say for these teams as they prepared for an exciting weekend here on the Baltic Sea.
We heard the horn there for 1 minute. We see 55 seconds to go on the start. And we're listening to Phil Robertson. He's talking there. They're coming in really fast for his positioning, and they are famous for being the fastest starters, so these next few minutes will be crucial. And Denmark, similar pattern, 2 hulls in the water. They're slow at this point in time, but in good control of their position. Left-hand side of screen, well, we saw the time run work well for the New Zealand boat in the second race, but it looks like a different strategy from New Zealand at the moment as all the teams line themselves up and they're facing back towards the start line on the right-hand side here. Who's got the timing right? It's America and Australia tied together towards the blue pole position on the start line there, but it's about timing, it's about hitting the line when it turns white, and it's America, Australia and New Zealand leading the fleet back, but Phil Robertson's Canadian crew look like they've managed to thread the needle. Watch for the line to go white here. It's going to be tight. Whoa, here we go. Let's watch for any penalties.
OCS penalty, New Zealand over the start line early.
Just missing out.
Starters.
Oh, the timing was off there, and it's going to mean opportunity Canada and Phil Robertson. We said the pressure's on the Canadian crew, and he delivers under pressure. There for the Canadians, they're going to be leading at Mark 1, and it's going to be a sprint down to gate 2.
Mark number 1 has Canada here in race number 3, Denmark on the inside, and the Americans dip in as well with France on the outside. Costly penalty for the Kiwis, the winners of the last race. 2 races, 2 different winners. Who will get it in race 3?
80 kilometers an hour of boat speed there for the Canadians as they ripped around Mark 1. First drive to here. Let's see if they can keep it on the foils, keep it fast, and get to the bottom gate first.
And to Lisa Darman's report, the wind's picking up just a little bit. Look at the Americans, their speed almost approaching 70 kilometers an hour. This race will be over in less than 10 minutes.
That's right, and we can see the Canadians there, some 50 metres ahead early in, and they look well set up to be able to make it round the turning mark, gate number 2, and take a left turn. That was what Lisa wanted the crews to do. They're going to have the opportunity on the Canadian boat, but look, middle and right-hand side of the screen, it's really, really tight. It's going to be a case of trying to find space, try to find fast, and America turn the boat one more time. They have the right of way, but Canada are going to lead at gate 2.
Australia having to pull away as the Americans own the right-of-way. It looks like they're off to the right-hand side. Everyone else going to the left-hand side. It is Canada and Denmark going 1 and 2, and look at the congestion over the other side.
It's so tight. Slingsby dives inside. I don't know how he managed to get himself there. What a manoeuvre by the Australians. Spittle's forced outside, and New Zealand, they've stuffed the bow underwater there. They're full of water on board the New Zealand boat. They're going to be really, really slow here. How quickly can they drain their F50 of water? How quickly can they get back on the foils? It was an aggressive manoeuvre by Burling, but a mistake, a nosedive, it could be costly.
They go 3 wide on that side. Meanwhile, on the other side of the course, we look at it one more time. Look how tight this is.
On the inside there, the New Zealand boat, and as they spin up, they can't keep the boat flying, and they nosedive, they fill it up with water. Slingsby, wow, he did well to find the gap there. Watch the turn up, look at the water there. It turns wet on board that boat, and we go. Early manoeuvre for New Zealand. Let's see if they're still in the race.
Canada out in front. Phil Robertson leads the way.
The wind in this leg is fairly balanced across the course, with the Canadians and Aussies choosing opposite sides, but both having about 27 kilometers an hour of breeze. We are seeing the Canadians sailing slightly faster, but that's always going to happen when you're at the front and choosing your own direction.
Canada, Denmark, and Australia, 1, 2, and 3.
We see there Canada doing a nice job. They've got the boat up onto the foils. They're out in front. Really funny here. Now we see the boats going here, sailing along smoothly. We can see Canada really affecting the wind. We've got the ladder lines there. They show us the direction of flow of the fleet. They're moving up the course into the wind here now. And at the moment, the fastest boat on the course is Canada. But the race in the pack's going to be really, really tight. Can New Zealand find themselves a way back into this race? Can the Danish hang on? As Phil Robertson, well, he's got all the decisions in his own hands, and he should be able to make it quite simple.
In case you're wondering, 7 boats out on the water. Normally there are 9. Great Britain and Spain have gone into the docks for repairs after incidents out on the course. And this is a good one in race number 3, the final practice race of the day. And look at this close crossing. Australia coming in hard on Denmark, and Canada just off to their right.
It's going to be really, really tight at this gate here. Now we see on the bottom of our screen there, that's the ley line. If the boats are sailing parallel to that line, it means they can make it to the gate with no more manoeuvres required. That's great news for Canada and Phil Robertson. Good news for Australia, but I don't know if the Danish crew are going to make it. They could could lose a few positions here, as we see right now. Canada, well, he's done a good job of keeping it simple, and it should look nice for Phil Robertson from here, but you don't want Tom Slingsby right behind you in space, because if there's anyone that can make these boats go fast, it's that Australian crew.
Canada looking good right on the ley line as they take it into the gate on gate number 3. And there you see the clock winding up. How much of a lead do they have over the Aussies and Denmark?
The Danish following behind there and splitting sides of the course. They've lost a bit of distance on the Australians, but they have held on to their 3rd place. 5 seconds behind the Australians there, we can see on our top left.
And Pete Burling showing his class as a crew. You had that big incident, Stevie, at the last gate. They put it down, and they are quickly back up to speed.
Reacted to the bad rounding by turning that into a quick manoeuvre. So he minimised the loss there. Good thinking by the New Zealand boat under pressure, and well, it's worked out well.
Looking at this last leg here, we can see how much that cost the Danish team by doing 4 manoeuvres in that one leg, while the Canadians were averaging over 50 kilometres an hour boat speed for the duration. 3 manoeuvres versus the Australians 2, but the speed was worth it.
Stevie, for my money, I'm going with the 2 manoeuvres over the 4. I think it's going to make me a little quicker.
Well, every time you turn the boat, you're going to slow the boat down. However, normally you're turning the boat because you're going to think you're going to sail less distance. So it's a compromise. It's always a game of compromise. But yeah, out here today, I think it is about minimising manoeuvres, and if you have to do them very, very well.
Being clean and consistent throughout the course. As we are on to leg 4, they'll go back upwind, then come back down, and then it'll be a quick blast to the left-hand side, and that'll wrap up the day's racing. There you see the wind speed. That's 25, 26 kilometers an hour across the course, and it is the Canadians that are approaching 70 kilometers an hour as they approach gate number 4 with the lead here in race number 3. The Aussies in 2nd, Denmark sits in 3rd. Wow, look how tight Slingsby takes it to the gate.
It's really close rounding there, Slingsby. Well, we saw it was at gate 2 where he made his big move. And in the background there, we see it's made a big difference as New Zealand, they come round. They're struggling to hold their position there with Denmark. Denmark doing a nice job. All the boats putting in early manoeuvres here out of the bottom, and all of them executing well.
Just want to match the Aussies' tack here, okay?
So just wants to turn the boat at exactly the same time as the Australians. 2-time world match race champion Phil Robertson. No surprise to see him to go into a match race type manoeuvre, but a penalty, presumably a boundary penalty, that will be costly. They're going to need to lose 20 metres relative to the Australians there. Could be enough for a lead change, not sure.
And right now it's the Australians sending the dirty air the way of Denmark and the USA, as Canada really not a factor in that situation for Australia. So you've got to think that Tom Slingsby on board the Australians, 2-time defending champions, have the edge.
Average speeds there for the Canadians versus the Australians. The Canadians were faster, but we have seen them slow down in the past 30 seconds while they take that penalty. Still 100% fly time, but they can't afford any more silly errors.
That's the voice here of Tom Slingsby. He's talking about the wind. He's thinking, can we get there? What manoeuvre can I pull to get past the Canadians? When he turns the boat, he will have the right of way, but is he close enough to get a contact situation? We're going to find out after this turn. Right of way with Australia. Canada must be clear ahead, and it looks like they're okay.
And Canada responds in kind as they make their maneuver. Now, as they race towards the next gate, Canada dips behind, and it looks like Australia, Stevie, may have more speed.
It looks like the Australians will. They manoeuvred beforehand, so they've got a chance to build speed. The question now is, can they make it to the next gate? If the Australians can make a left turn at the next gate cleanly, they will be ahead of Canada, and this will be a lead change. But it's so, so tight. Canada must keep clear. Australia, look, he squeezes the boat towards Canada. Canada must keep clear here. Can Australia make it round that left turn mark? If they can, they'll be ahead of Canada. If they can't, it's going to be race for Canada.
Tom Slingsby can certainly force a penalty if he wants to dip down. And
Canada must keep clear here. Aggressive turn by Tom Slingsby. Has Robertson done enough? Well, he's off the foils. Both boats are slow, but first on the foils, it's Australia. It's going to be in the hands of the umpire, but I think Australia's going to be in the lead anyway, which would clean any penalty that may come. And in the background, New Zealand, they've made a move, looking to move into third. Here we go.
Look how
On
close.
board Slingsby. He's allowed to turn the boat towards the wind here. Look at the razor focus on that Australian boat. Aggressive turn up. Canada must keep clear. Phil Robertson, well, for me, did turn away quick enough, but it was already enough damage done. Aggressive from Slingsby, perfect judgment.
Not sure why you want to poke the bear, in this case the kangaroo, but it is Australia that has the lead now, and Canada, as we are on to leg 6 of 7. So they'll race downwind and then a quick blast to the left. And if you're fans of close racing, you're hoping that Canada and Australia come back together again.
Well, the lines at the moment, the lead ladder lines down the course show us there's nearly 100-metre gain in that exchange for Australia. Australia will have to turn the boat 2 more times, and Canada only 1.
Looking at that last leg, we did have a proper little battle between the Canadians and Australians, with the Canadians sailing faster, but the Australians sailing a shorter distance. But that tactical little move has put them out in front.
100 meters to the advantage of the Australians right now, the 2-time defending champions, as they come up on the next and final gate, and then a quick left. But look at the speed building for Canada.
Too little too late for me here, Todd. I think it's a great controlling position. Both boats with 1 more turn to make. Just don't see the Australians making many mistakes.
Phil Robertson hoping that Tom Slingsby makes a mistake here. Not likely for the 2-time defending champions.
Oh, look at that. It's high. They're hoiling too high. They've lost it. They've lost it here. It's going to be really tight. They got the windward rudder out of the water. Can they save it from here? Well, we said they don't make mistakes. Commentators curses over the door for Canada. Canada will be faster. It's a sprint.
It's a full-on drag race to the finish line, the 3rd and final race of the day. Phil Robertson on the inside line, pushing Tom Slingsby, the defending champion, to the outside as they come to the line. And it will be the crazy Canucks that cross the line just barely ahead of the Aussies for the win.
We absolutely did them with that there, didn't we? My word, we just don't see Australia make a mistake. Maybe had tuned into us. Uncharacteristic. They didn't rotate the wing early enough, which meant they got too much heel. Suddenly the rudder came out the water, and you lose about 100 kilograms of downforce keeping the boat upright, and we saw it start to tip.
Yeah.
And well, what a mistake. We don't see that from Slingsby and his crew.
Not very often, and to your point, they had the lead, they had the speed, no question about it. They made the turn early, and then it went into full Calgary Stampede rodeo style as they bring it down, and then Canada taking that opportunity to go to the inside line and just edging them out. What a performance. So 3 races on practice day. The Americans win the first, the Kiwis win the second, and the Canadians hold on for the third. Stevie, I don't know if you read into those tea leaves, but how do you think that translates to race day tomorrow?
Well, I just think we're one of the Canadians there. We've wanted for that comeback for them. They've been struggling since perhaps that mistake they made in Plymouth, but this is going to be the tonic. But for me, Denmark, they've been so quiet and consistent today. I think they've done a lovely job out there.
So a 1-second victory going the way of Phil Robertson and Canada Sail GP. A nice way to end practice as they get the 3rd and final race win. Just ahead of Australia, they force an air on that last gate. Denmark finishing in 3rd. The USA, nice salvage job as they come into 4th place after winning race number 1. Then it's New Zealand, France, and Switzerland as Sail GP welcomes back Nathan Outeridge, and now skipper of Switzerland. Spain and Great Britain, they sat this one out as they have dock repairs, but this sets us up nicely for tomorrow's first day of racing, Stevie. So the first day of racing at the ROCKWOOL Denmark Sail Grand Prix Copenhagen has been officially abandoned. Fans still out in force to see their favorite teams, but it has been abandoned for today, so it'll be 3 fleet races tomorrow for the title. And the word is there is some good wind on the way and better conditions. So hopeful fans all make their way back for a great day of racing in the greenest capital on earth. Before we say goodbye, opportunity to go out on the water again with one of the teams that are standing by. That, of course, being Nathan Outeridge, the new skipper for Switzerland Sail GP team, and Laurent Metro. Nathan, it's disappointing. I know you guys wanted to get out there. What does the prospects look like tomorrow, and how do you feel as a team as the newest member?
Well, hey, great to see you, Todd. Yeah, it's got to be better tomorrow than today, that's for sure. And you know, we had some good racing out here yesterday, a couple of practice races, and hopefully we can get some good conditions and keep the learnings going forward. It's been nice to be a part of the team and nice to be back driving again, and just looking forward to some racing tomorrow.
Well, hey, Lauren, it's Stevie here back in London, and you're one of the newest teams, and of course you've got one of the old guard, one of the gurus of F50 sailing stood next to you. How does he help with the female pathway program, with the Swiss team? What kind of input can you get from Nathan? Oh, sorry, Lauren, we're not quite picking you up at the moment. I don't know if there's a button to press there at the moment. Yeah. Nathan, perhaps you can give us a bit of insight. We saw yesterday in the practice racing, you had Lauren on the grinders, working hard up there. How is fitting in with this new Swiss team, and how's that all working with the different roles? Seb behind you as strategist.
Yeah, it's been good. Hopefully you can hear me fine. Yeah, it's been really good. Lauren's done a fantastic job picking up the G2 position, which has enabled us to have Seb on the back of the boat. So really focusing on trying to help Seb get up to speed with the driving and the racing of these boats. And there's a lot happening at the front of the boat in that grinder 2 position, controlling the jib but also popping the wings. So, I think it's we've only really got two hours of training probably yesterday in proper sailing conditions, and the progress has been pretty good so far, and we're just looking forward to seeing if we can get some good race results tomorrow.
Nathan, on this women's pathway program, you certainly have a good one in Lauren Matreau. What does she bring to the table as a sailor? And you can wax on about her right next to her and make her a little embarrassed, but what does she bring to the table on the team?
I think it's just a fantastic thing to have, this kind of setup, and it's nice to have the girls keeping us all honest and chasing the positions, and she's got a lot of experience in lots of other classes, and often what we've seen across the SailGP fleets is the female sailors have been sitting in the 6th sailor position, learning and getting that experience, but giving her a chance to have some hands-on time towards the front of the boat has been fantastic. And I think we should all be really considering all the sailors as equals on board, and everyone has the equal opportunity to do all these roles. And obviously it's a bit more physical on the handles, and I'm very happy I'm not the one on the handles, but what we saw yesterday was that she's very capable of doing a fantastic job.
Nathan, thank you for your time. Lauren as well. We hope to see you back out there. And Nathan, we wish you the best of luck. I don't want to see you fall on hard times and have to go back to television. So thank you again for your insight. Well, we're looking forward to a great day of racing tomorrow. Want to bring you up to speed. Season 3, after 3 events. It's Australia, the 2-time defending champions out in front. Great Britain. They won't be racing this weekend. New Zealand is here. Canada, Denmark, France looking to make some move, as is Jimmy Spittle and the Americans. And Spain and Switzerland could be the wild cards in this one, as they've got a very talented squads and looking to make a big splash here in Copenhagen. We will see as Mother Nature is looking to cooperate a little bit better for tomorrow. Well, it's the race for the future as well. And Stevie, we got to give credit to New Zealand. They pulled off the double last time in Plymouth, winning not only on the water, but on the shore.
Well, it's what they're doing on the shore to minimize their footprint and make sure they make a positive impact to the planet. And that's really what it's all about. This team, they won last season. I think they are the benchmark in the Impact League, the actions they're taking to, give us a better ocean, give us a better future. And the double, amazing.
And it just shows that sustainability doesn't have to come at the cost of performance.
No question about it. This is the greenest capital on Earth, Copenhagen. And tomorrow we are looking for better conditions, and it looks to be a great day of sailing as the ROCKWOOL Denmark Sail Grand Prix will take center stage. It'll be 3 fleet races, no podium race because of today's abandonment. It'll be 3 straight-up races across the board, and the team with the most points at the end of those 3 races will take the title here in Copenhagen. So that's it for today. A lot of busy work and a lot of moisture. On behalf of Lisa Darmanin, Emily Nagel, and Stevie Morrison, I'm Todd Harris saying so long for now. We'll see you tomorrow from Copenhagen and the ROCKWOOL Denmark Sail Grand Prix. So long, everybody.